So, welcome everyone. After the previous talk with two speakers of the same company, which had a very nice interaction, this is rather unique for Hacker Hotel. We have two people of two different companies. We have our Docker expert, Rick van Duijn, of KPN Security.
Oh, shit.
And we have Sean Fokker from McAfee. So it's two different companies. They were talking about the same subject, but from two different perspectives. So I'm really, really glad to have them here. Please give them a very warm welcome and enjoy the talk about the REvil malware.
Thank you. Thank you.
That was an interesting story because you reached out to us, or to me, it's like, oh, do you want to do a talk? And then eventually through Twitter, I found out you were going to do a talk on REvil. I was like, I'm going to do a talk about REvil. So it's like, can we free up some space? Because how are we going to compete with each other? So, well, if you can't beat them, join them.
Yep.
Rick, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi. My name is Rick van Duijn. I'm a security researcher at KPN Security. I've done most of my life I've been pen testing. Just recently switched to more research purposes, and even more recently switched to malware analysis. So, complete noob. But it's been fun.
My name's John. I work with McAfee, not to be confused with John McAfee. And my last name is also John Fokker. This is for the Dutch people really easy, for the English people even easier. And for my work, I like to hunt malware, sometimes domain admin credentials, and mostly bad guys. As you can see from the intro, our talk is about Sinokibi. I'm looking at this for more than a year and I can still not pronounce it. So REvil is the easy name. It's mostly ransomware focused. We're going to do two perspectives. Some stuff that we did from McAfee, some underground research, some code analysis and stuff, and then the stuff that Rick did as well. And when we look at the ransomware landscape from the last quarter, and this is, we basically stole the figures from somebody else, but that doesn't matter. We see that Sinokibi makes up a big portion of the targeted ransomwares focusing on companies. The other one is Ryuk, but we'll leave that for a different talk. And you see that there's actually probably the influx of a lot of players want to get a piece of the pie. So the last quarter, there's a lot more different variants coming up. But as we said, Sinokibi. We've been tracking this threat for a while now. And one of the things we did, we were hunting for all these new hashes and new indicators, and we ran it on our backend. And that's pretty cool. So you can see the global dispersion. I don't know if the laser works on the screen, but you can also see that there's like not a lot of dots on the former CIS countries. That has a reason. So it goes on. There's a lot of red spots in the US and in Europe and some in Southeast Asia. So basically where the money is, that's where they go. And for those who are not familiar with REvil, REvil is a ransomware as a service, as we call it. So the framework is being supplied by somebody else, and you as a entrepreneur can join in. It's like a pyramid scheme. You're responsible for spreading, generating infections, and you get a piece of the pie, and another piece goes to the developers. We often see this, that a lot of developers do this from countries that are not, where it's not illegal to develop malware and to deploy it, as long as you don't encrypt one of your own citizens. And it's an easy business model, because most of the risk lies with the affiliates, because they do all the spreading, they leave most of the traces. So if your coding is solid, unlike the empty guys, you're pretty squared away. For those who are unfamiliar with the RAS model, as we say it, we have the ransomware operators or developers, and they advertise. They could be on forums, could be on closed groups, Jabber, whatever, and they say like, hey, we have a system and we allow for seats, and just like you're sitting right here, you can join in and make some money. They have to pay a fee to join in, and what they'll do, they'll get builds, and they guarantee that they can spread. So they have either spam, RDP, whatever. They will say like, oh, I'll make X amount of money. And they'll spread these, their campaigns against victims. Well, what you see now, these are end victims. So this was mostly the old version of RAS with CTB Locker, CryptoWall, and all those. And now you see, predominantly there's companies. on the other side as the victims. So government institutions, beauticians, I believe, all kinds of stuff. Doesn't matter. If you have an MSP service provider that doesn't use multi-factor authentication, it's just basically a matter of time, as we have seen. Well, anyways, those victims, they get encrypted. They're like, oh shoot, I need to get my files back. And they pay the ransom. The ransom goes into the whole system, the framework that the ransomware developers have set up, and a cut of the ransom goes to the affiliates. I've been researching GandCrab before this, quite significant, and what I've seen is the service model is really interesting, because unlike, for instance, you have NEMT, in the talk before this, that's one of the more early stages of ransomware as a service, whereas this more, Sonomkibi is an established entity or a crime group. GandCrab was so as well. And one of the things we've noticed is, how do you build trust with your affiliates? Because you have to, there's this relationship you have. So if you want to set up a good ransomware as a service, you have to be really good at accounting, because you get trust by paying your debts, just like a Lannister. And we've seen that as well. So we saw that a true indicator for a service that's stepping up and becoming more professional is adding an indicator for each individual affiliate. So they can track back, well, this affiliate encrypted this group of victims, so this amount of ransom that's paid out, that goes to this person. And in that way you have kind of the accounting books. And funny enough, it's often in the malware. So what we did for GandCrab at the time, we created a structure. So we pulled those individual indicators for each and every affiliate out of the ransomware and grouped them. And this is obviously a very zoomed in or zoomed out picture. I have them all available as well, so if you're interested later on. And sure enough, you can see groups. You can see groups of affiliates clustering together, or they have campaigns clustering together. And we figured out that some of the shapes that we see could be linked back to, for instance, somebody who is outsourcing their own hacking. So you have one person who communicates with the big boss, and he's like, wow, shoot, I'm under a lot of pressure, and I need to get X amount of installs or victims. So as any entrepreneur would do, they would go on the forums and say like, oh, who can help me with RDP hacking, get me more installs and all these things. So there's this whole outsourcing stream. And you can see that back in these overviews. Sure enough, our hunch was when REvil came around, and we were like, nah, maybe there's something in this ransomware as well. And there was. And sure enough, there's a similar structure going on. And we'll talk a little bit later on more of the similarities. This was what sparked our enthusiasm. I was looking at all these affiliate IDs. I was grouping them all per version of the virus. And the virus, they didn't mess with the compile dates and all these things. And version 5.2, the final version of GandCrab, came out in February 2019. At May 31st, 2019, they said like, oh, we're going on retirement. So if you follow the news, you might have seen it. We've made X amount of millions, yada, 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 yada. Funny enough, we're like, in February, we're like, wait a second. We're looking at all these affiliate IDs. There's IDs that have been very active. We've been matching them to, for instance, victim data and all this stuff. And they're gone. Where are they? If this is a scheme that makes so much money, where do you go? It's like a party, like the party's going on and there's big people at the party, and then all of a sudden all the party goers are left. But the party's still going on. So what do? Do they go to bed? Or do they go to the after party? So we established that a certain amount of first affiliates were already gone at February 2019. And sure enough, I think, was it March, April-ish? REvil came along. And this is a posting on, I think, Exploit still, Exploit.in, and this is the initial posting from a user named Unknown. Brian Krebs wrote this article about it, and we can confirm this is Sonomkibi. So the actor Unknown, and it's really interesting. They give all the specifications of people who want to join. Well, if you're bad at Russian, well, guess what? You're out of luck. You're not allowed to encrypt Russia, and one of the things is they explain the different cuts. And it's not only that posting, but the posting below it, that's an individual by the name of Lalartu. That's what caught our interest as well, because he was a major affiliate in GandCrab. He was a very influential cybercriminal member in the underground, and he moved, he jumped ship. So is he one of those that left the party early? So we began to look. And then later on, they left it, they weren't really clear about it, but at a certain moment they posted themselves. They said like, yes, we were former part of GandCrab, we got the source code, and we did our thing for ourselves. Is this a cover story? Because it's criminal saying something? We don't know, but there's something in the code. So when we look at the code, and I realize we're going to go in a killing tempo, by the way, because both Rick and I have blue bracelets, so we have to go to dinner early. We compared the code to GandCrab, and sure enough, there was 40% code overlap. That's not a lot. But when you look at the individual functions, there were functions that were identical. I believe your company wrote a blog on the URL the generation. That was almost copy-paste. And when we look at the code flow on the page as well, you can see it's nearly identical. There are some differences. For instance, for GandCrab, we developed a vaccine. We built something, they made mistakes, and we were able to build a vaccine, roll it out, and nobody got encrypted who had that vaccine. And we made it publicly available, not too public that they could find out, but we had our channels. And those didn't work for Sono Kiwi. They stepped up. They were really robust. As we said, URL generation. I think, Rick, you use this to your benefit as well with your sinkhole stuff.